Welcome. Welcome to another segment of Seek Elevation, the Seek Elevation experience. Today, I shifted what I wanted to talk about, what was scheduled for today, because I felt this was very important and very timely to talk about it, to drive home some points that I've always been driving home. But I want to point out in this real time real life situation a lot of the points that I'm always driving home. So today I want to talk about Sean Combs, The Reckoning. I want to talk about it. And when I talk about Sean Combs, The Reckoning, it will not be in the way that other people are talking about it. I'm not talking about this documentary in the way that other people are talking about it. A lot of times, how we process information, process life, situations, events, how we process them is a direct reflection of our mindset, our state of mind. And so how I seen this documentary, I seen so much more than what most people are talking about. And so I want to use my platform to talk about what I seen when I seen this documentary. So again, welcome to Seek Elevation. If you are new here, you don't know me, I am attorney Alakeisha O'Kelly, the empowerment influencer, the ownership attorney, and advocate for creatives, sports professionals, and founders, especially first gen achievers. Right here on Seek Elevation is a space for elevating, for transformation and clarity. We empower individuals who are rising, redefining themselves, and clearing the step or the path to step into their highest potential. This platform right here and the time that I take to share my insight and possibly bring on others is a time to pour into people who want to become the best versions of themselves and own every step of their journey. That is my mission. So if you are building, creating, leading, or evolving, Seek Elevation is your space, is your platform. So, as I was stating, today I want to talk about Sean Combs' The Reckoning. But I'm not here to debate whether he was a monster or not. I'm not here to even focus on narrowly part of the narrative that blocks out everything else. I want to focus on what most people, if not all, have overlooked. Even if they didn't overlook it, they overlooked it in the way in which I am going to bring it today. When I listened to the stories of every individual who participated in the documentary, when I watched the videos that were provided of the recordings of Sean Combs, when I just seen it all, it was just so much that came to my mind. So much. Of course, the business, the contracts, the complicity, and the identity behind a lot of decisions. Although I know this documentary was set up to present a story in a way where the executive producer did say in a way where the viewers can walk away and take what they want from it. But pretty much the echoing of voices made it very clear of what individuals were walking away with. So let's just get away from that real quick and come with me on a different type of journey. I want to break down what I saw and keep it for brevity, keep it very short because there was a whole lot that I saw, a whole lot that I heard. beyond what was being said. But for brevity, I'm going to break it down into 4 key points of what I heard and what can be lessons for us, especially if you are in the entertainment or sports industry, but even in just business industry that's not entertainment or sports. If you're in business and you're dealing with people, partners, investors, it's still the same points. Point 1, let's go ahead and start here. I have to start here first. Point 1 is constantly hearing the people speak their truths of the accounts of their experiences. And the one thing that I heard over and over again from most of the people that spoke, if not all, were people who were willing to accept bad contracts. People who were willing to accept bad contracts, whether they were written or verbal. Every last person that came forth spoke in some type of manner of at some point in time of them willing to accept bad contracts. They admitted it. If you go back now, if you watch the documentary for whatever reasons, just go back and listen to some of the things that I bring up. They admitted to either signing a contract that was put in front of them or through action or performance, accepting the way that things were to be. When they accepted the contracts, written or expressed, they knew the money didn't match the value at that time when they accepted it. And through their performance, action, or signature, they signed anyway. And most of them stated they did it because of who the contract was with or what they hope agreeing would become. I want us to pause there because this is something that is constantly an issue. From my experience, from just being in multiple industries, one of the things that is done, and we'll hear all of these horror stories, but if we back up and look at most of these stories and drill down, we will find that in those horror stories, there was individuals who were willing because who they felt the opportunity was with and willing because of what they hoped for, not willing because of what was put right in front of them to make those decisions. And then when what they hope for does not come to fruition, it becomes a horror story, a bad situation. When who they contracted with didn't change their life for the better, then it became a situation, a issue, a horror story. Individuals become victims. But when do an individual become a victim? When they realized that what was wrong from the beginning and they accepted what was wrong from the beginning didn't change or work out, is that when they became a victim? Or did they become a victim of themselves when they made a decision to be willing to accept something that was not good? If we look at Brooklyn Babs in the documentary, she clearly explained after getting selected for making the band, they all were told to go in the back and grab some paperwork. And she gestured that it was a stack of paperwork, which is a tactic. When we look at the legal world, first of all, whoever gives you documents and they're not representing you, they're not giving you documents in your best interest, right? So in the case when Babs and whoever else was selected got those stack of documents and they did not get it from their attorney or their side, they got it from the opposing side, then whatever's in those documents are representing the best interest of that opposing side. So she explained that they all went in the back, they all got documents, they got a stack, but she did claim that she had a lawyer. She had a lawyer review her document or her whole thick contract, and the lawyer chuckled, which a lot of times we do when we see stuff, we be like, "Oh my gosh," right? No matter how many times we see it, we're like, "Okay." And a lot of times we know exactly what to look at, exactly we know how to issue spot. Before we even the stack, they gave them 24 hours to read this document. A lot of times for us attorneys, especially if we're in the industries doing the same things over and over again, reviewing the same things, a lot of things are the same, but just new information built upon it. But we know how to issue spot. And that's one thing that's different from having legal eyes, legal expertise, reading documents. 'Cause I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, I know how to read a contract." Say if it was only 4 pages, I'm fine when it's only 4 pages. Knowing how to issue spot and having legal eyes is totally different than a layperson. However, in this case, her lawyer doesn't sound like they had even read the whole thing. The lawyer told her, "This contract is not getting you fortune. This contract is contracting for fame, not fame and fortune either. Just literally for fame," which that happens a lot. And I have those conversations all the time too. I don't know how to negotiate for fame. I don't. And a lot of times I tell individuals if your objective, your sole objective is fame, I'm not the best fit for you. There's people out there that obviously are. There are attorneys out there that obviously are. And it's not to knock people who just want fame. That's something that you just want. But you have to really know what you want. Her attorney told her in this case, it's just fame. And she said, admittedly, got the information, but I definitely signed it. It's bad boy. That's exactly what she said. I signed it. It's bad boy. What do you mean? I understand, attorney so and so, that you're telling me this contract is literally just for fame and it's not fortune, but this is bad boy. So let's be honest. Let's be honest here. In her situation or any other situation, is that a bad contract or a bad decision? Because if you define it as a bad contract, from whose side is it? I may draft a contract based on what my client wants and present it to the other side. The other side may want something totally different. So they will say that contract is not good. That's not a good contract for me. But it's good for my client. So defining a contract as bad is only as impactful as the person who decides to move forward with it. Brooklyn decided, even though I know that this contract does not put me on the path of fortune, I want to sign it because it's bad boy. Obviously, what you hear in that is I want to sign it because who it's with and possibly the hopes of what it could become. That doesn't make the contract bad. This happens every day in sports and entertainment and in business. People sign deals out of excitement. They'll come in one way saying, "Oh, I want this, I want that. I'm going to stand 10 toes down." And then as negotiations go, then they kind of dwindle down because they're just excited. You know what? I don't want to lose this opportunity to just have a contract with whoever the opposite side is. And a lot of times out of desperation, out of the dream of proximity, hoping the relationship will open doors. They move forward. And I don't know how many stories we need to show that never works out. And a lot of times people may feel as though I have this extreme talent, so mine will be different. Or this company or this organization or this person told me they love me. I'm unique. They see me differently. I'm trying to figure out how talented can you get than Michael Jackson, Prince, Aretha, Whitney. The list we can go on. And every name that I've named dealt with situations that were not in their best interest. This business world, no matter what industry you're in, it's about business. It's not about loving you and feel all feels. It's about people getting what they want out of it. And no one owes anyone a favor of let me figure out everything that you will like and put it in here. Let me figure out everything that would benefit you and put it in here. No one owes no one that. You owe you. You owe you. No one else owes you. When you accept and you're willing, you're cheating yourself. And you're allowing yourself to go from a possible position of being a victor to a victim. And we have a lot of times accepted that victim mentality. It's better for me to just try and to hope and then scream victim when it doesn't work out because that's what I'm familiar with and that's what I see. How about trying something different? I want to be a victor. If that means your no closes a situation, that no is bringing you closer to your yes, and that no is protecting you. Imagine if everyone in this documentary said no. They would have either been protected, doors closed, or they would have set boundaries. Either way, the no wouldn't have gotten them to where they're at with all of the yeses. Hope is not strategy. Desperation is not a negotiation tactic. And that's why even when I negotiate for my clients, I d I do it from a place where first we sit and we do all this prep before I even sit down to figure out where we're at, where we wanna go, all the great things. But that's why it's very beneficial to have representation as well, because when individuals deal directly with opposing sides, even when that opposing side says, "Okay, we're not dealing with attorneys. My attorney's not talking to you. Your attorney don't have to talk to us. We're gonna talk to each other." Individuals still put themselves in a position to show their desperation. And when someone can feel your desperation, you're already on a losing side. And so it's best to remove yourself from conversations when you know you do feel desperate because we are human. And a lot of people do have this excitement that maybe this could change my life. And I never had much and I want more. That desperation shows. So remove yourself when you are desperate. That's in anything. That's just like even with jobs. That's why they say the best time to search for a job is when you're not desperate. When you're in a position to think with clarity and to reject or accept with confidence. When you sign something that you know is not aligned with your goals, you are participating in your own disappointment. There is no way to blame a singular person, group, or anyone else without putting yourself in that circle of blame because it begins and ends with you. So, all of these people that we heard talking about, there were yeses. yeses, and I said yes because of this, and I said yes because of that. We have to at some point look in this mirror and say, those victim excuses are not acceptable anymore. We have to look in this mirror and we have to say these victim excuses because we will get nowhere with it. And if people feel like I can just trust on the justice system to figure that out, you see how that go as well. Because a lot of times you will get in front of judges who are part of the legal system, see it from a legal parameter, and will feel and hear a lot of stories over and over again, right? They're still human. And you may get a judge on a not good day, a great day, a judge that's fed up of hearing the same situations for the same lack of accountability. I mean, to really put it up to a judge for to decide if you truly were a victim or not is very risky. You are in the best position when you do everything that you can possibly do, and then you were screwed over. So, point number two, I mean, people were complicit outside of just willing to accept bad contracts, written, verbally expressed. People were absolutely just complicit. Some people in this documentary, as they're explaining their harm, when you hear 4 layers deep of their story and them explaining their harm, a lot of these people weren't just harmed, they helped harm others. They helped harm others. I mean, I'm looking at we can pick any one of them, but we talk about Capricorn Clark, right? This woman said who was his right hand person. Right hand person. I knew him well. I knew him well. She even went to explain in large rooms, he's this big bad person. You get him by himself, he's like this. So, you know him even well enough to know that this facade he put on is not even real, right? Outside of just well, before I get there, she also went on to say or describe that dark park incident, the conversation that happened in the dark park that night, the things that were said to her. She said she never told anyone what was said to her. She never told, and she felt that that built a lot of trust. As reckless, dangerous, whatever you want to list it, that was said to her, it was at that time a pride of, you can tell me this and I will not say anything. I know you trust me. I come from a background of ABCD. So we're talking about trauma culture and that trauma culture being honored and how and what someone was complicit with. It was absolutely fine. It was no problem. It wasn't because I was scared. It was because I want to show I can handle this. And matter of fact, I come from trauma culture. So this is something that I'm used to. And now I built your trust that I believe my silence created. I mean, from a business and ethical perspective, silence in that environment is not neutral. There are words for that in the legal system. Conspiracy, aiding and abetting, complicity, all those silence actions, habits starts to grow and build and contribute to one of those things that I've mentioned. And again, I've seen it. And this is why I want to point it out. What we heard and we saw, this is what goes on in the industries, especially entertainment industries. This is not a one person's thing. It takes a team in order for these acts to transpire. And the team always consists of those people who were complicit, who were silent, who say, I'm doing it for the culture. I'm not labeling her with charges. I'm highlighting behavior patterns seen across these industries. I don't just deal with the key person, the key man. I will deal with the team before even the key person or key man. And a lot of times, the team, and obviously, if you're still with them and you're working with them, you're fine, you're complicit, you accept, the team is a reflection and iteration of the key person. And just like her, many others, their loyalty is not based in truth. I know we all seek out loyalty, but if we're going to look at industries, we're going to tear industries down, we're going to talk about how we move in these industries. When you think about doing deals and who you become a part of, realize that everyone that you see from that tree that you want to be a fruit of, all the branches from there are literally from that tree, and you're that fruit that will hang from that. Then when a branch get cut off, it calls itself a victim. Are they a victim or did they help victimize? And that's what we need to look at when we're moving through these industries. And I want to point this out because I don't want our focus to be so narrow of trying to find a monster. That's why I didn't want to talk about it. I want us to take a hard look in the mirror of what it all looks like, how this is built. More importantly, how you can become a part of that system and feed it. As long as harmful behavior didn't harm every individual that talked about it, they were fine with the harmful behavior. So a lot of times when you're sitting here doing these deals and you're in the rooms with people, they're all fine with you being harmed. A lot of them may be fine with you being harmed if they're a part of that. So it's your due diligence to check to see who's fine and who's not. What are you going to be a part of and what are you not? And even if you can't at that moment dig down and get those answers, that should always at least stay at the forefront of your mind to say, this is why, this is one of my motivating factors of why I'm going to do my due diligence in entering in whatever this opportunity is. This is why I'm willing to accept a no if I stand 10 toes down on my expectations, my values, my morals, my goals. If I stand on mine, I'm willing because I know that there may be a bigger thing at play here. At least that's the least you can do is keep that at the forefront of your mind. We're listening to all of this. The moment people access shifted, their narrative shifted. When access shifted, their narrative shifted. When access was there, it was a reflection of people's heart. There wasn't outrage until the outcomes didn't benefit them anymore. Darkness is acceptable to many as long as they profit from it. Please keep that in mind as you elevate in this world, especially as a owner and you are on a path of ownership. You have to protect what you have going on because darkness is acceptable to many as long as they profit from it. I remember there was a point, I forgot which episode it was on. It might have been the 3rd or the last, where when Sean Combs was dealing with a lot, he needed to, or according to the documentary narrative, um, get the buy-in from the culture. So he was like hanging out in the streets, shaking hands with people. Someone asked him if he could put the coat on his back, doing all the things, shaking and smiling and shaking hands and smiling and taking pictures for the culture. And then when he got in the vehicle, then you hear him saying, this is not someone else saying, him saying, "Oh, where's the hand sanitizer? I'm gonna have to take a hot bath, bubbling, blah, blah, blah." Right? So that reflection, but I want to take that and put that to a higher level of thinking. That's what a lot of people are doing in these industries. They're smiling at you, they're shaking your hand. It's for the culture. A lot of times people will say, support so and so for this reason. A lot of times it could be support because woman, support because black, support because Jew, support because Asian, support because whatever. And a lot of times those tactics are used to either gain support or sign this deal. We doing this together. We're rocking for the culture. We're doing this together. A lot of times people use identity connectors to get what they want. And as soon as you sign, as soon as you walk away, they're saying, "Give me the hand sanitizer. I need to take that hot boiling bath." All the things. So as a owner, as an individual who is shifting your mind, elevating your life, allow people to say all the things they want to say, but do it. Whatever you move forward in, do it for more than a reason of what someone's trying to sell you on doing it for, especially when they use identity connectors and saying, "Just support, just sign this. I support all so and so. I'm for the so and so." I know for a fact, I have sat on this side of the negotiation table with notable people in the Black culture to negotiate deals. And in the public, those individuals were for the culture. And behind the scenes negotiating, they were for taking from it. So now, with me not just saying it and you seeing it, that is a minuscule reflection of a bigger issue. I've had people tell me, "Oh no, they love me. They love me. They say I'm the best. I am, I'm different. I bring something unique," and all the things that they're supposed to tell you. You tell them, "I appreciate that. I know that." Yes, and that's what I'm going for. Yeah, yeah, I get it. Now we can put all that stuff to the side. Let's talk about what needs to be talked about from a different mindset. As a matter of fact, I'm not talking about it. Let me get my team to talk about this, or someone on my team to talk about this. And then after I make a decision to move forward within the right mind, we can get back to all the compliments and we can see if you still feel the same way about me. So take that snapshot of that moment and put that snapshot in a bigger picture of how individuals out to get what they want will say whatever they need to get you to say yes, or the support that they need, and they may feel differently behind closed doors about you. All right, point 3. I want to talk about now and drill down with people who do accept unfavorable conditions, right? So we talked about those who are willing to just enter in bad contracts, expressed or written. We talk about those who are complicit with what's going on around them, knowing everything, not innocently, but knowingly. We had one person say, "I bet you thought I would never tell it all." Well, you probably wouldn't have if there wasn't a reason, right? So you have so many people complicit. But then you have those who just say, "Okay, I there's these unfavorable conditions. I'm going to accept. I know I'm accepting these unfavorable conditions because this will change my life." Over and over again, people accepting disturbing, unhealthy, degrading conditions. Not just me signing a contract or agreeing to a contract, not just me being complicit of my environment that's around me, but me engaging and indulging in degrading, unhealthy, disturbing conditions for myself. I'm going to accept this because I believe this one person that I'm accepting it from holds the key to changing my life. That is a snapshot of the mentality of so many people trying to break through in any industry, trying to get that big break with selling their products, their service, trying to get that big break of getting with that team, trying to get a big break of signing with a label, doing a movie, whatever. It's this person or organization holds the key to changing my life. So I'm going to accept unfavorable conditions that are degrading to me in the moment, disturbing, unhealthy. In a documentary, Little Rod is an example of this. As presented in the documentary, Little Rod explains his account. And again, for me, from the ears and the perspective I have, I didn't hear the accounts explained from a victim standpoint. Something done knowingly over and over again, waking up sore repeatedly, feeling drugged, and not remembering something. So you put the two together. There's an inference. That's what we call in the legal world. You get these set of facts, and to fill gaps, there's an inference. We'll look at gap filling. You feel drug and you wake up not remembering stuff, then you see everyone around you taking drugs. You're in a situation where you found and saw someone bleeding out. You accepted bringing women to the home or wherever the place was where the album was being made. You say you endure this not 24 hours, 48 hours, 24 days, or 48 days. You endured it across multiple Thanksgivings, multiple Christmases, kids' birthdays. If I recall correctly, it showed that there was this writing camp that started in 2022. The issue became an issue 2023 when the album dropped. And what was the explanation? The explanation was, I know I accepted all these things. I know I continue to put myself in positions where it was unfavorable to me. I know that I didn't have clarity on these things, but I was able to push forward. And even when I did mention something to one person on the team and they didn't kind of handle it, I still decided, hmm, but if I just endure this, I can pay my kids' bills. I can pay my bills. I can pay my grandkids' bills. I can get this house, this great house and $250,000. Yeah, this is 29,000 right now and all of these things that are very unhealthy that regardless of if I have concrete answers for everything, I have answers for some things and the things I don't have answers for, there's an inference it's not good. I'm fine with it because of those things. Then the album drops and suddenly calls, you push people are pushed back. The hope of this future that someone hung on looked very bleak and very dark. And then the confidence come out. This is not right. This stops now. I'm not letting this fly. That same confidence that comes out during that time, where is that confidence during this time of accepting? That's what I want to point out. A lot of times we will enter into deals, talk about these different deals, not be as confident, feel you can't be as confident in expressing how you feel or what you want. You enter into them and then you don't get what you want because it was never promised anyway, but you don't get what you hope for and now all of a sudden the confidence come out. That same confidence that comes out when you hope for something and don't get it should be that confidence that you have before you move forward with anything. And that's on all sides. This is for writers who write for big artists, producers that produce for big artists, or producers that are hired by record labels, or this is for artists who go with producers, or this is for actors who want to do this film, or filmmakers who want this great actor, or this person who says that they can make an opportunity happen. I don't care what side you're on. Always be on the side of an ownership mindset. And then there's a way to come to the table to find a mutually agreed upon, respectable deal. I always tell people in negotiations, I mean, we a lot of times will say, you go for a win win. Win win doesn't mean I'm getting everything I want and you're getting everything you want. It means that what I do get, I am absolutely good with, and I will not become a victim because of it. That's what both sides say. And that means each side may give up something, but what I did accept, I am good with. So when we are willing to not be as confident, not say in those negotiations, this is it. This is not gonna fly. This is it. We don't stand up in our confidence and we say, oh, I'm gonna take this. I know this don't look good. I'm gonna go through this and go through this and go through this and hope. It's never all right. It never when does it turn out all right? Because a person is showing you their intentions from the beginning. When they get in a situation, when you start a situation, then tensions are already on the table. So if you can't get someone to come to a in a mutually agreed upon attention, it doesn't change. That's like being in a relationship and getting with somebody that is just not good for you in a relationship, and you tell yourself, I'm going to change this person. This person's going to change for me. You're built on the hope that this person will change, knowing the intentions that they got into the relationship with. And then feel a certain way or become a certain way when your hope did not come to fruition. You cannot allow yourself or you to be involved with someone or to become this person to not speak out because of principle. There's many people who don't speak out because of principle. They only speak out because the payout didn't match their suffering. If you already had principle in your heart, we wouldn't have to get to a point so often to speak out just about the suffering. Because to be honest with you, that's why I said, you have individuals who speak out because the payout didn't match their suffering. Some individuals are willing to even suffer as long as this payout matched. Hence what I just said. I will go through these things that are not good for me if this is the payout. If it costs to go through this, when someone tells you, "Oh, this is what it takes in order to make it," and whatever they tell you is something that you're not willing to do, but you sit there and you still move forward with a person, an organization that tells you this is what it's going to take, you know, you are willing to suffer. You're hoping for a payout that matches that suffering. Let's look in the mirror and say, these excuses don't have a place in my life. I am on a path of ownership. It's time to turn a new leaf as a business owner, as a creative, and as a sports professional. The carrot dangled in front of you or anyone should not stop you from moving. It shouldn't be when your hope is dried up, then and only then do accountability become convenient. You will never get anywhere in what you're doing. But more importantly, you cannot be the individual you're claiming, if you're claiming this to be, which is a boss, a owner, a talent, a gift. So, point 4, let's move on. And I want to wrap up on this point, and I left this one because it's so important. The contract is important, understanding being complicit in your actions or watching other people who are also complicit in actions, and also accepting unhealthy things and be willing to get paid for that. Those are all great. But let's talk about this footage in general. One of the big things about this footage of Sean speaking in the hotel, and actually the footage of the producer I just mentioned, Little Rod, right? The footage between the two, especially the one that Sean summoned a filmmaker to capture, was used in his documentaries. It's a huge issue, right? So that becomes a major business question. And this is what I talk to individuals about understanding IP, intellectual property. You have tangible property, you have things that are very tangible, you have money, that's property, you have real property, home, land, you have intellectual property. And it captures the essence of your mind through your eyes, through your hands. It takes the invisible and brings it to the visible world, your intellectual property. And so, as there is an issue presented with this footage, and Sean claiming that it was stolen, unauthorized, but yet still being used, and then just even reading the captions in the documentary that says, the filmmaker was hired in 2024 to follow him, and that the footage was what is the word they use? The footage was obtained during Diddy's arrest. So I'm inferring the inference from that is during the home raid, he had a home raid or whatever, and things were being taken out. Whatever he got arrested, at some point, the filmmaker obtained that footage. Yes, it was in Sean's home, but the question is, did he own it? Possession is not ownership. And this is what we have to understand over and over again. Possession is not ownership. You go do this photo shoot, you get these photos delivered to you, you are in possession of them, doesn't mean you own them. It does not mean that you own the photos if there isn't a contract that states such. You have someone record you, you solicit them to record you, and you are the one being recorded. Doesn't mean you own it. If you don't have anything in writing that speaks to such. Ownership is not determined by me asking someone to do a job for me. Ownership is not determined by you may be the subject in that job performed. Ownership is determined by the contract, the rights granted, the rights retained, the purpose, all the things that you will talk about. So it's going to be interesting to see if the filmmaker, if there was no agreement, and this is another point to make out too. I don't care how celebrated you are, how big someone think people are. A lot of times how big you are, and even when you have the legal team around you, because whether it's stardom or startup, this is an issue too. There's a lot of people who may have legal around them or team around them, and they still do not converse with them on really important issues. Sometimes they'll say, "Oh, I think this is the time to talk to my legal, and I'm gonna talk to my legal here." But I can just move how I want to move in this situation. Hey, I just want somebody to follow me around. Follow me around. I don't have to go to legal to talk about that. But you're missing important things. And whether it's startup to stardom, these big celebrities, they don't do it either. They miss very important 10 legal business decisions. I see it all the time. There was a major company, well-known man on television, on radio, on everything, that I had to deal with their team who did something to a client, and my client was able to prevail just off of the lack of legal structure of that situation. Oh, that was an easy home run for me. It had nothing to do with how much power and prowess you had. It was these things were not done. And this is the evidence that we actually have. Now, yes, there are some people who know when they do things wrong or to the left, their hope is I will outmoney you. Even when I know I'm wrong, I will continue to push this until I think you don't have the financial resources to fight me. There are people who will try to do that. So, in a situation, fortunate, we were able to prevail, show these things, and they conceded on those things. But the reason why I bring this up is I don't care how big you are, how well known, how what airways you're saturating. A lot of times you have individuals who are moving in ways that they shouldn't be moving. And we wonder why we hear the stories, not just from startups. We hear these stories throughout every industry because we have to start operating from the ownership mindset. And so that producer also was able to share his film. What type of conversations were had for him to be able to have his phone and record for 13 months? Was there a confidentiality agreement in place? Now, of course, even with confidentiality agreement, there are certain times that agreement is allowed to legally be breached. You can't have a confidentiality agreement, and this confidentiality agreement requires me to suppress evidence of wrongdoing that's under an investigation, or matters that are of public concern. So there's times you can still get out of confidentiality agreement. So another point, another nest egg for you. Even when you have confidentiality agreement, you have to think about in what confidences can things be held. So who are you still even dealing with? And what are you trying to get people to agree on? So even understanding contracts and how to use them and how they can be voided. So the question, the argument in this issue here is you say something stolen or was or did I just repossess what I already owned? And you had a license to use it for however you was going to use it, but I repossessed what I own, or did I take what you own? That's a whole nother argument. His team will have a whole nother argument if there is contractual agreement that this was a work for hire and I retain my copyrights in it. If there was no written, not conversation, copyright cannot be transferred, possessed through any verbal agreement. Never verbally agree on copyright protection. You can verbally agree, but it has to finish off with something in writing. So if that didn't happen, you don't own it. And the next thing is with the other film that was being used, is that film considered film that is relevant to evidence of wrongdoing? Is it film presented that is a matter of public concern or relevant to an investigation? If so, then they're fine with using that as well. So understanding, regardless if there was an NDA or not, so understand that how you move, understand who is doing what for you. When you summon someone to do it, are you summoning them with legal infrastructure to do it? Do you understand who walks away with ownership? Understand all of these things. Use this documentary to go beyond seeing one person being presented as a monster and listen to the whole story being told. This is actually, you crack through the door. Not just in the industry, though. You're cracking through the door across industries. Listen to this documentary to see how people operate and think. Look at how the people who claim they're victims have victims and what they were willing to do and why they were willing to do it. His partner, his former partner that was described as co-founding Bad Boys, he sat there and explained giving up his percentage of shares. As he explained giving up his percentage of shares, and I believe it was Kurt Barrows or whatever, after he explained there was a bat, these things were being said, blah, blah, blah. You would think from the explanation, it was, oh, I feared for my life. Because I even had my daughter said it, oh, he feared for his life. And I said, but wait, we're going to go back and listen with new ears. Because she said, yeah, he gave up his shares because he feared for his life. He was in there he was threatening him. He was going ballistic. I said, yeah, I heard him say that. But now I want you to come back and we're going to listen with legal ears. Because this is how I will tear you up in a courtroom. As he said that, and he continues to talk, he later says, people always asked me, why did you do that? Why did you give it up? Why did you do that? For a person who feared for their life, the response to those people who keep asking you would be, because I was scared for my life. What do you mean? Why did I give it up? I was scared for my life. I gave it up because I know what I was dealing with right in front of me. I was scared for my life. And if I was in a courtroom, this is how I would rebut that, right? I would be like, "Oh, you're scared. You're someone just like the young lady who was his assistant, who knew him very well, who explained that in a room full of individuals, he's this giant, but get him by himself, he's like this. and you're someone who side by side started this company with him, have you ever resonated with that description of him, that in a room full of people, he's big, but by himself, he's like this? Were you really that scared? And if you were, when people ask you over and over again, instead of you saying, I was scared for my life, you said, because I wanted to stay in good graces. Because he wasn't firing me. So I wanted to stay on at the company. I was just confused by it all. What shares even mean? So did you give it up because you were scared for your life for a person you know very, very well and how he operates in different capacities? Or did you give it up because you didn't want to cause tension? The promise that he was giving you, that I will give it back. I need you to do this for me. You wanted to move forward on hope that that's what will be done. You don't even understand this ideal of shares. You didn't even understand what you had. So instead of you conversing with someone that to understand what you had, not even in that moment, when you started this company, when you were given shares, whenever there was this conversation, you didn't get an understanding of what that meant then. And in that moment, you still didn't understand what it meant, but you understood one thing. You understood you didn't want to go anywhere. And for a person who's scared for their life when there's an opportunity for you to leave, why wouldn't you? When there's an opportunity, there's so many people that's stuck in situations that try their best to leave and they can't. They can't because they truly fear for their life. But you said, he wasn't letting me go. I wanted to remain in his good graces. And I trusted what he said. And that's where we all fall short in those situations. One, we don't get an understanding of what we're even entering into. Legally, that is an issue. Everything will crumble. You don't even understand what you're entering into because the old school way is a handshake. I wrote a book called The Street Code versus the Legal Code, Code v Code. And when I talk about contracts and copyright and trademark and right of publicity, I'm talking about the legal code that is designed for us to operate in a way that gives us the most protection versus the street code of how we operate in all of those areas. Shaking hands, going off the word, someone word is bond. I just had hope. And that's what that was. That was the street code that did not pan out. And when that street code didn't pan out, there was another victim. And you're not going to put yourself in a position to be a victim because when you enter into something, you're going to get complete understanding of what you're entering into, right? So I'm going to wrap up by saying, listen, someone who, and the reason why I got fired up about this, and I wanted to use those 4 points to just point out things I'm constantly saying, whether it's personally with different clients or me sharing on the airways, whether it's seminars, my webinars, in-person empowerment speeches, my book that I wrote, 2 books actually, Code v Code and Contracting for Wealth. I have a book bundle coming out now that is a spinoff of Code v Code. I'm literally going to break down each of those sections down. Code v Code was about or is about the how of moving in those areas, how you move legally versus street code. But the spinoff that's dropping soon is going to be, you know, how do you move forward with actually gaining the legal protection in each of those areas. So that was more, I should say, Covey Code is more of the what of moving in those areas. The spinoff is how now in these areas do I attain what you're telling me right here in Covey Code. You got to find a way, no matter what you're doing and how you're doing, you got to find a way to educate yourself or put those people around you that you can trust and that are smarter to educate you that has your best interest, not opposing people. Not opposing people. I'm going to have to say this, even if you have a partnership. If you have a partner, you can have an attorney that represents the company, not you as an individual, not your partner as an individual, represents that partnership. Or if you have an attorney, then your partner needs to have an attorney and they need to have conversations. But you can't operate like the street code. I've been invited into environments, and this is not me just preaching to people. And the people always say, "Where's this passion come from?" First of all, I am someone who has experienced all sides. As a former professional athlete, been on that side. As an entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur, been on that side. On this side of legal, all of it comes together. As someone who has a mother who was a artist, seen it. But even now, I'm not even just talking about past. We're always still even challenged now. I've been invited into environments that could have changed my financial position overnight. No matter how things are now, good or whatever, it would have changed my financial position overnight. I have been offered several seven figures, multiple seven figures, multiple times just for my signature alone to enter into rooms. And when I seen who was in those rooms and who I was going to be a part of and vouching for, it was a resounding no. So when people say you don't know until you are in that situation, so I want to go ahead and I want to close out on this as I teach and educate and empower on business through legal and otherwise. It's not just me speaking from books. You wouldn't feel this passion from something that's book read. It's definitely street cred. And so I've been presented with these deals that could have fast tracked my income, my status, my influence, and I know colleagues who said yes. It has always been a resounding no for me. Not just because of my ethical responsibility as attorney, because we have ethical duty. We're sworn, but we know how that look. Oops. We have ethical duty, but we know. So it's not just because of an ethical duty that I'm bound to or can be checked on, but because of my moral mandate as a person who wants the best version of themselves. And the only way to get that is not just from working on me internally and all that, but also making sure whatever I connect myself to, with, and how I deal with has to align to moving the needle towards me being the best version of myself. Being complicit to bad behavior, accepting unhealthy things to my body, to my space, accepting bad contracts, all the things, those things don't align to moving the needle for me to be the best version of myself. So it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen as a woman, as a leader, as someone who truly empowers others. I have seen deals designed to harm someone else down the line, deals that looked glamorous, but were truly built on exploitation. Deals that required me to compromise my integrity to secure someone else's downfall, and I wouldn't even accept that. And I'm allowed not to do that. Even as an attorney, if it's something that's going to cause harm in the future for someone, I don't have to do that. Only thing we're bound to, if there's something that we know of the past, that is client confidentiality. We deal with that. There's so many secrets we have to hold. But if it's something that can cause future harm, it's our choice now on what that looks like for you. I refuse, I refuse, I refuse. And so as I uh, empower individuals, either directly them hiring me as their advocate, attorney, as individuals who come in as elevators for just my empowerment segments, webinars, and books outside of legal, but just being empowered on those areas in which I do provide legal, I'm standing in truth. Because here is the truth. It is not hard to walk away from bad deals when you have a good heart, when you have a solid heart. It's not. It's only hard when your identity is rooted in desperation, validation, or greed. And I want you to hear me well on this when I say this. Hear me well. Come here. Come in. Listen. Shut everything down. If you're walking around listening to this, stop. I want you to hear this. Someone said this to me. Didn't say it to me. Someone said it around me, a group that I'm with, a very elite group. They said, people cannot out operate their identity. Not for long term. You cannot out operate your identity. What you identify with will be how you operate eventually. You can't out operate it. Change your identity, change how you operate. If your identity is rooted in scarcity, you'll always accept low terms. If it's rooted in survival, you will tolerate harm. If it's rooted in ego, you will excel and excuse in and of evil. But if it's rooted in alignment, then in morality, in value, in clarity, you'll walk away from seven figures without blinking because you know whatever it was that someone's willing to offer you that for, that they seen in you, you have that same thing to add to something that aligns with what you actually do. So this gold standard ownership, mindset, gold standard ownership mindset. You have to get in a state of mind. It's going to require you to just think differently, to operate differently, to negotiate differently, to protect yourself differently, to build with structure and not hope, especially on one person and one organization, but the hope that was put in you to show up. So I will say plainly, if you operate from a victim mindset, you will always get the victim outcome and you will sit on people's couches talking about how you're the victim when you were actually the participant. You will always sit. So do not operate from a victim mindset, operate from a victor mindset. So when you have these conversations out here, when you decide what contracts to accept, what people to have on your team, who to be around, what opportunities to take, operate from a gold standard ownership mindset. So as you digest this documentary, I just want you, if you watched it, watch it again. If you haven't, I would say watch it at least from that perspective. I want you to just ask yourself as you watch it. This is for you, not to watch and post about anybody else in there. Watch them and ask yourself, am I ignoring red flags because I hope that this opportunity will change my life? Where am I making decisions that's rooted in desperation versus strategy? Where am I calling myself a victim in a situation when I knowingly participated in the misalignment? Where am I expecting someone who is disingenuous, narcissistic, or any other label you want to give somebody, when am I expecting that type of person to be honorable simply because I wanted to I wanted the reward? So your elevation doesn't just require ownership in all of the business acumen I talked about. It doesn't require just ownership in understanding your legal business infrastructure, your contract security, or your intellectual property protection. Your gold standard ownership also requires ownership of mindset. Ask yourself these questions. Your identity determines everything. And for those of you who are serious elevators, because that's what my tribe is, we're elevators. I want you to also know, as you think about this, don't just listen to podcasts. A lot of times we read books and we just listen. Take action on, how do I change my identity? This is inside outward work. How do I change my identity? Yes, read books, find communities. I'm actually going to create an elevators community. I'll be rolling out masterminds on a whole nother level for 2026. I already been doing webinars and skip, but I'm rolling out on a whole other level in 2026, and advanced trainings for people who are ready to think differently, to operate differently, to negotiate differently, and to elevate with the gold standard ownership. There's no excuse out here to move differently. And when we all decide to move differently, that's where shift happens. People who want to be positioned to move with strategy, clarity, integrity. It's not just about having people on your team to do it. You have to be in the mindset so you don't say, I didn't understand it. So connect if you're not connected. Stay in the loop so you can get that information, as I'm on the mission to continue to elevate us here behind this mic, in person, virtually, and in written books. Connect so you can stay in a loop on any or all of those ways. So thank you for tuning in to another segment of the Seek Elevation Experience. The more you know, the more you grow. The more you learn, the more you can earn. But when you share, you show care. So please share this segment. Let someone else hear it and dissect it and see what was put in front of us in a different light. There are so many things outside of this documentary. There are so many things are being put in front of us right now, and we're seeing and getting the wrong thing from it. And the only way to get the teachable moments, the moments that can literally shift your life, is to see it from a different set of eyes and to hear it from a different set of ears. And if you don't have that yet, surround yourself around people that do. That's going to help shift you to that new identity. Things that are happening when you're in a victim mindset is woe is me. When you're in a stretched, challenged, growing mindset, it's these are the seeds and the tools and the resources I need to become the condition and the characteristics I need to be for my next level. How you see things makes a difference. How you see you makes a difference of how you see things. So until next time, peace and progress.